Good evening. Good evening. And I would formally like to welcome you back to another edition of the Foul Playland. As always, I am your foul player. Wanted to talk about some of the stuff that's happening around the world first before I get into any boxing stuff. Boxing's been lacking anyway. I mean, we've had a few fight announcements since I've come back. I mean, they're big fights, surely, but I mean, do I care about it? No. I mean, like, am I excited that Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury are gonna fight? Not really. Am I excited that Canelo and Jamal Charlo may fight? Not really. So that's it as far as formal announcements or rumors, and I'm not excited for either one of them. I mean, if anything, those fights are getting in the way of, namely, like the Canelo Charlo fight. I mean, like it's kind of like actually with both of these fights that are announced, it's a travesty in both parts that they could come up with like the money for these fights that aren't exciting or like people really don't care about. They come up with money for like these fights, and then it's like an impossibility for like sides to work with each other, like for Bud Crawford and Errol Spence. I mean, like I've kind of like made a pact with myself and sort of like with you guys when it relates to boxing and me talking about it on like this platform. At least I'm not gonna come on and talking about it like a with any real excitement. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, because nothing really exciting to me as far as what's happening and what's gonna happen down the line in the near future with boxing. What does get me excited though, or what I do think is intriguing news, if you will, and it's the first subject I want to get into. It's this trucker protest that's happening in Canada. Um, I don't know like the crux of it, or I do know like the crux of it, but as far as like on the mass media, when word of this started getting out, as far as like when I heard about it, was probably like a week ago, maybe. I don't remember, but now like today, well, since I've seen it a week ago, and it's kind of like seemed like a big deal because of like what I've said in the past, like as far as supply line issues and the stuff as far as the doing the old thing in getting having to get that thing like where it's stopping you from so much, but I knew it was a big deal because truckers are truckers. Everybody needs trucks. Trucks got to bring everything you have in this house and in your house, everything that's in your stomach right now and in your cabinets, all comes on trucks. So I mean, like them going on strike in Canada, like which is like what's gonna happen tomorrow, is a big deal. Like these truckers are going on strike. And I have an article that I want to share. Want to make sure I'm doing the share screen properly too. But it's an article from the Guardian, and the Guardian is a pretty like left or leaning from what I know of it. You know what I'm saying? But they if somebody were to give coverage to like a story like this, like the last publication, if you will, like that I would expect doing the breaking this story wouldn't be like the Guardian. You know what I'm saying? But I'll read you some of the article, and like they could probably better explain it from a layman's perspective. And it goes, I quote, and again, this is from the Guardian, and this is from today or Friday, the 28th, which was a couple hours ago. But it says the headline: Canada truckers' vaccine protest spirals into calls to repeal all public health rules. It says a convoy of truckers and their supporters is set to converge on the Canadian capital in a protest which has spiraled from frustrations over vaccine mandates into calls for the repeal of all health measurements and even overthrow the federal government. I think they're overblowing the whole overthrowing of the federal government thing. But it says ahead of Saturday's protests in Ottawa, the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau dismissed the group as a small fringe that held unacceptable views and didn't reflect the majority of Canadians. Earlier this month, Canada began requiring any truckers arriving from the U.S. be fully vaccinated against coronavirus. Those who are not vaccinated, who are believed to constitute less than 15% of the country's drivers, are required to quarantine for 14 days. Canada has recorded 2.93 million COVID cases and 32,600 deaths from the virus. But if you guys didn't peep it, like they're requiring truckers who, according to the article, who are arriving from the U.S. to be fully vaccinated against coronavirus. Those who are not vaccinated are believed to actually are required to quarantine for 14 days. So, I mean, like as a trucker, I mean, like imagine like out of nowhere, you got to go 2 weeks locked down. If you don't get it, that gets in the way of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, so only a moron would respond to that. Well, you got to do what you got to do because the rules are the rules. Like, that's overzealous. You know what I'm saying? Like, to have to shut it down for 14 days or get this or don't work. I mean, come on, bro. You could be the biggest Karen in that sense. And you got to reason with somebody who is not, that doesn't want to take this. Like, should continue to work. Or like, like I said, everything that you have in your house comes on a truck, or just suffer through without that. I mean, like, the choice is easy in my mind. But let me continue. The convoy, which left Vancouver earlier this week, has more than 275,000 supporters on Facebook, nearly 40 supporters on the encrypted messaging app Telegram, and has raised 5.5 million Canadian, which is about 5 million, from 70,000 donations on GoFundMe. I know that GoFundMe froze their account, like that money, and they released some of it recently. Like I knew that like yesterday, I think. They're going into stuff about the people that are donating online, which I really don't want to hear about it. But okay, one of the convoy highlights. One sec. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, I want to go into this quote here. It's really difficult to get a sense of how many Canadians actually support this versus how many people globally are trying to oppose vaccine mandates and the associated political objective, said Davis. Oh, and she's the one that actually said these quotes up here about the donations, which I don't give a shit about. But she's a former intelligence analyst for the Canadian government, it says, and head of Insight Threat Intelligence, which is probably some shitty ass like company that got awarded a contract because of some relationship behind the scenes. But yes, he's trying to make it seem like it's not a bunch of Canadians that are opposed to this in this statement here. It's really difficult to get a sense for how many Canadians actually support this versus how many people globally are trying to oppose the vaccine mandates and the associated political objectives. She's making it seem like a lot of the traction that this is getting is coming from like people outside of Canada. And she's probably like making an Otis or emphasis on the fact that there's a GoFundMe thing. But if mad people are showing up like that, trucks, and like all these people that are showing up without trucks, they're not getting hit off from that GoFundMe. So like, what's that got? Like, what's that? Like the people of Canada are making this pop off, or you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like somebody's coming with their truck from Australia, like to go protest. You know what I'm saying? Like, by and large, I'm pretty sure that 95% of the people that are going to be protesting that in Canada are Canadians. So stupid shit like this, like, these articles that are like kind of like shading things in a different direction and make it seem like you're stupid. But, somebody who's like quasi liberal like that, maybe their whole life is based around like COVID, like, they'll be, eating this shit up. Like, yeah, of course. Like, of course people will go fund me from Australia making this out, but those people don't matter. But it says one of the main groups behind the protest is Canada Unity, which has opposed what it says are unconstitutional COVID rules, in quote. The group recently posted a memorandum of understanding to its website, saying that the members plan to present it to the politicians on Parliament Hill. The group claims that the leader of the Senate and government general will sign the document to create a governing committee, which they claim would work to revoke the vaccine mandate. This document is largely incomprehensible and is completely divorced from our political reality, said Davis. I mean, like, come on. I don't know what the document says, but the same lady who's like making it seem like it's kind of like an outside like entity that's making this pop off is also quoting, and this document is largely incomprehensible and is completely divorced from our political reality. No, I mean, like, if it's anything into saying like let's get back to normal, like without all the bullshit, like then it's not incomprehensible. Nobody. I'm pretty sure that document. I haven't read it, of course, but I'm pretty sure it's not like proposing anything like nutty in that regard or like anything like crazy. But I'll continue. See, despite such fringe ideas, which have prompted comparisons to the January 6th insurrection in the United States, the convoy has received endorsements from federal conservative politicians, including, I don't know who these people are, but they're who called for peaceful protests, which I agree. Conservative leader Emmett O'Toole has expressed wariness to vaccine mandates in the past, said on Thursday he would meet with the truckers. But the group have received endorsements from Donald Trump Jr. and Elon Musk. The son of the former U.S. president posted a video on social media supporting the truckers for fighting against medical discrimination, while the tech billionaire on Thursday tweeted, "Canadian truckers rule." Actually, look, it mentioned something as far as supply line stuff. See, but actually, I'll read this too. Some Canadian conservatives have spoken out against the vaccine mandate, arguing it places a burden on truckers when supply chains are already strained. See, they're giving you a little bit of game as far as saying, like, like if the shelves that you're already seeing like empty in the stores are more empty, then blame these cats, or this is why it is. But we've been having these problems as far as supply line stuff. I made that video in my grocery store, one of those grocery stores around here, and like there was only one brand of water, like but again, somebody who's like more of a liberal leaning, like there's dumb responses, like, or like the response you get from most people nowadays, like regardless of whatever side of the aisle you associate with, but somebody will say, "Oh, well, there was water though," like there was still water, I'm gonna die of thirst, like, yeah, but there was one brand of water, and it's that Nestle shit, and I don't drink that. But of course, I have water here. But just saying, somebody else is like me and they have no water, then what? But it says the supply chain is flexible, but it's also fragile, said Simon Semaji, a professor at Guelph who studies the food business and supply chain management. The Canadian food system really rides on the back of a truck because our short growing season, he said, of the 21 billion worth of food imported from the US each year. The trucks play a key role in moving it. In many ways, COVID-19 has exposed both the necessity of the trucking system as well as the headwinds within the system, including a shortage of drivers. At the end of the day, we need more trucks on the road. If everyone came to the table for an honest discussion about this rather than making political statements, it'd be better for everyone. And I agree. Yeah, that's it. I thought there was a comment or something, but you guys like peep game, and as far as like with that, I agree. I think, like, naturally, like with this protest tomorrow, there's going to be problems on the roads and all this stuff. But if something goes down on the roads, like, I mean, as long as they're not intentionally trying to do it, like as long as they're letting emergency vehicles pass, which I'm not like a big stickler for that either. I don't see why an emergency vehicle would go through that area unless they had to get to somebody there. But that's on the person who they're trying to see, unless they ended up there accidentally. I think everybody who's going to be there tomorrow, like, knows they're going to be there for a protest. Like, nobody's going to mistakenly try to drive through like Iowa, like to go to like their aunt's house or some shit and go through that area, like wherever. If and even if it's the whole like Ottawa, like, which is likely to get shut down if this is like a massive protest, which I think it's going to be. You know, I think that there's going to be overblown. Like if something happens, like to somebody, like on some medical shit, like, or like, somebody goes through a physical calamity where they get sick or something, and like maybe the emergency vehicles can't see them. But they're gonna try to overblow that. But the principle of like why this is happening, it's long overdue to me. I mean, like, personally, like, do you want to get back to like life before February 2020, or is this it? You know what I'm saying? Like currently, like because of my accident, like, I can't really like go out as much as I want to. Like, I mean, I try to like only go out like to go food shopping and to go to therapy. But when I do get my faculties back, I want to go out and live normally. I mean, not to say that I've been not living normally, like, because when this happened, like, I was still going. Went to Florida a few times, like, right when it happened, I went to Cali, like Maine. I went a few times. I went to New Hampshire. I went to a bunch of places, so it didn't stop me. And there was kind of a benefit in that I see less people outside because that's always better. No to humans, but um, things are ramping up. Like, I mean, like when this first happened, like, I mean, when like things first got locked down, I mean, it was basically like, seeing less people out there, which was fantastic, and that was it. But now, I mean, like now you gotta like get like certain things you can't work in Canada. I mean, like in Walmart, you can't even go up in there unless you have that thing. I mean, so, and Canada is beasting as far as that situation goes, like as is Australia and other countries. Like, I think Germany's beasting, France. This country to a degree is beasting. But I mean, like everything, it seems like, it's like getting overblown. Not to mention like all the financial stuff that's happening, not only here but around the world. But I mean, here, the fact that it's even whispered of happening here, like the financial calamity that we could be looking towards, you know, it's a dangerous proposition. Canada's probably going through the same thing fiscally. And now you're going to have a bulk of truckers forcefully sit on the sidelines for like really no good reason. I mean, at the end of the day, like, is this thing like worth it? Like to be like fretting about, man? Like where now this is like a political conversation and like it's mad corny. Like we got to get back to regular stuff and like stop like um set tripping like too with like somebody's like for instance, like if they brought up this conversation about like these truckers, like, naturally, like lately, like seems like everybody's natural response is like once they hear like one or two sentences about like, who's like what's happening, like, oh well, that's some Trump support, like, that, how those people are, Trump supporters, like not everybody like that, you know in life is gonna fit in one of two boxes. Like, give me a break, people. Like, it's the same shit with the racism stuff that gets thrown out way too easy. Everybody's racist. The whole world is racist. Stop fronting. Like, sure, like other races may have the capability of um keeping another like group of people down, but that's life. You got to get over it. Not over it, but like, are you gonna like just riff about like these people keeping you down, or like do you want to get in a position like where anybody could try to bring anything towards you and it won't keep you down? And believe me, I was the biggest riffer of them all about being kept down by the man and having that be a big part of my conversations. But I just try not to be that relish on things like this anymore and try to put my energy into other shit. And all the other shit, it's like kind of like schooling myself in a sense, and it's paid off like massively. Even now, like, I mean, like, I'm still you know like, I don't have my wits about me, but I could still like sort of make like little moves here and there from the cribs. But I don't know what I'd be doing otherwise. But this is like how cats are living like for like 2 years, like the way I've been living since August, and it blows. Like, I mean, like, I know a lot of cats that like, play video games or mess around online all the time, that it kind of like doesn't phase them, and maybe they got a few what do they call those stupid checks? The ones they were giving out for free. Stimulus checks. Maybe they got a few stimulus checks and didn't have to go out, or had a reason not to go out, and like thought that this is like, cool or okay. But not cool. Not cool one bit. There's a lot of freedom to just being able to jump into your whip like at a whim and do whatever. Not have to think like, oh, I gotta go. I can't, like, because a lot of shit in New York I can't do. Not that I was gonna do. Like, I'm not about to go to no restaurants in New York, or I don't even want to go into New York if I don't have to. But if I wanted to, I mean, like, I can't because of stupidity. I'm trying to position this. I just got that frame that you see right there. Actually, I'm gonna put his info out there. Somebody made that for me. I'm gonna ask him first though. But yeah, I mean, it's a corny existence to keep going in this fashion. Not only like just oh well, it's just boring, but like if you don't want to get something like put within you, I mean, like, what's the beef in that? I mean, seriously, like, if I would have told you like 3 years ago, like everybody had to do certain things, like, or otherwise you can't do other things, like, y'all look at me like I'm crazy. But it's like full blown now, and it doesn't stop. Just keep, and do you want to keep living in this fashion, like, or because before, like, even if you're the biggest like COVID Karen, like, going 4 years ago, you weren't saying, ah, man, I wish they like, gave everybody and their moms like, oh, that's my cat, like vaccines, like just all GP, like, oh, because I wish they made everybody get a flu shot per se. Like, I wish they made flu shots mandatory. If anybody had that like notion where they proposed mandatory flu shots in 2019, that may have been a slither of 1% of the population worldwide. You could name any country, and it wouldn't be more than 1% of the population that thought that that flu shots should be mandatory. But now all of a sudden, like, people's lives are like built around this. Like, people that post stuff about this every day, or that at least were. Now I think, I mean, I am seeing, like, I do have a little bit of promise, like, because I am seeing people pump the brakes a lot on this. Thank God, and I think people will come around, like, regardless. I think more people are gonna come around, like, even the ones that are like COVID Karens now, like, pretty soon, even the illest of them is gonna come around and look at this a lot differently. But when they do come around, and I think this conversation has to change. Like, why do we even go through all this, in the first place? You know what I'm saying? Like, and another thing, I mean, like, I hope you guys like got to do a little inflection during this time and like take advantage of every day. You know, go out and do something all the time. I mean, I just started playing video games again recently, and because I used to do like not all the time, but there was sometimes where I go through like little like 1 month streaks or like 3 month streaks where I play like almost every night, like baseball or Madden and shit. And I wouldn't play against people online. I'd play like franchise mode or something. But I wait like looking back on it, I wasted a lot of time doing that. But now I'm doing it again because I'm nothing else to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I mean, if you could, I mean, especially after all this ends, which it will end, all this like COVID stuff, and it's not gonna end because everybody goes and submits. It's gonna end because it's gonna end. It's gonna end because it should have never popped off like it did. But when things end soon, hopefully, go out and get after it, man. Like, not go out and like make money and everything. Honestly, like, money is the wackest thing like that man ever thought of. Like, don't go out there and like think that you have to be doing something to make a couple bucks all the time. Honestly, if you're doing stuff you want to do, you may bump into like great business opportunities just off GP. But honestly, like, your great business opportunities happen like when you're not on the couch. Not to say I'm like ripping and roaring and like, but I like to do stuff like as far as like if I see something that's interesting a couple hours away, like, I'm there. But now it's like, man, it's not just like me either. It's more like it's also mostly the COVID stuff. So I mean, like situations like the one in Canada kind of like give me hope that maybe we could start having a regular conversations about this. And these truckers, I mean, like not every trucker. I mean, especially if there's mass amounts of truckers that are going to go there. Not every one of them is conservative, Republican, racist, or they're just regular ass dudes. Like regardless, even if they are like racist or Republicans or whatever. Like, I mean, like, is that your one up on them? Like, do you want to keep going back and forth and like well, lock us down more because I don't like these people? Fuck that. Like, I mean, like if you think that way, fuck you. I'll ride with whoever to get us out of this one. Especially the economic stuff. And honestly, I advocate that you don't have to ride with anybody. Do stuff for yourself. I don't go around like trying to find like groups that I'm trying to relate to and stuff. Like, you're you and I'm me, and I'm no better than you in any sense. We're both steps away from being bums in the street. So you know, I lost my train of thought. But one thing I do want to say though is I hope that this happens all over the place. As far as I mean, I don't want this video to be used against me, like in the sense of like if something terrible happens tomorrow, that's what I wanted to happen. No, but I do want like a discourse or just so we could get to a point of having regular conversations about this, or discord. I meant to say, I don't mind a little bit of discord to get to certain means. And right now, like certain means is just having regular conversations because YouTube is whack and they'll censor you for anything, give you strikes for anything, and every other public format, like, or formats that seemed public 2 years ago are behaving in the same fashion, like where you can't even talk. Like, get out of here, bro. You and like meanwhile you could talk about um sexual depravity like to no end, like and I'm not like a church boy either, like where sexual conversations, regardless how guttural, are gonna make me blush. In fact, in the past life, I would add to those conversations, like, and try to make you vomit. But you could talk any of that kind of shit on YouTube and Facebook. You could be parading your sexuality around all you want, but God forbid, like, you have any sort of notion that doesn't agree with getting shit put into you, then off the rip, like, you get booted. You know, and actually, I'm not gonna say that because I don't want. I was gonna say when the ex-president got booted, a lot of people were cheering that on. I don't want to see anybody get booted, like, off of like a platform publicly, like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, whatever. Nobody deserves to get booted. I don't care if you're saying like the most racist shit in the world. Like, that's just what it is. It's freedom of speech. Like, even with shit that you don't, freedom of speech is for stuff that you don't want to hear. Now, I do have my limits, and like that's with people who are interested in children. Like, they shouldn't have public format, and honestly, um, there should be a lot harsher penalties in anything relating to that. And the normalization of that that's happening now, which I want to get into in a future video, and I want to do my Dave Chappelle video too, because I think Dave Chappelle sold us out. But as far as people like with that are interested in children, yeah, they you want to be more strict with them, whether public formats not giving them platforms to speak upon. By all means, you want to give them harsher penalties, even better. But anybody else, like, I mean, anybody who I don't agree with politically, or like to have them banned and for me to cheer them on, like, that's whack. People are becoming whack too, where people like to cheer for somebody that they don't like, for a mob to go after them, rather than like for you to, God forbid, have a conversation with someone you don't like. That's just how people are today. Like, very whack. Like, if people could push a button and like kill like people that they didn't agree with online, they do it in an instant. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's a big time detached from reality. I wouldn't do that, but I think like people more and more, like, because of technology, are coming or fast becoming way too detached from reality, and act like this is reality, like the internet. It's not. But let me get into my take on like, Dillian Whyte versus Tyson Fury. And I actually don't want to give my take because this is actually somebody else's take. But I've been detached from YouTube boxing because I've been mad busy. Had to drive my nephew to Virginia, and I have to drive back. One of my cats is dying too. My cat, Finesse. I think she's on her way out. Poor thing. But just other shit too. Now it was like a snowstorm, so I had to like put salt and shit down. And like since I'm working at 10% capacity right now, like if that, I'm moving half ass. So even like putting salt down is like a mission for me. So I haven't been keeping up with YouTube boxing one iota, or boxing for that matter. Don't know anything that's happening. Besides the announcements of Fury, Dillian Whyte, Canelo, Charlo, and Rolly and Tank. big whoop. But anyhow, as far as the Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury fight, one video that I did watch while I was being detached from YouTube boxing was CJ Goodfellas. Shout out to him. Please, if you guys could, subscribe to him. He has a lot of cool stuff going on Twitch and all these other formats too. But he made a point of saying that how fast they came up with the money for Fury versus Dillian Whyte. That just with Fury's purse, it covers both of what Errol Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford were asking for, which is true. He also mentioned the fact that how fast they came up with the money for Canelo versus Charlo. Now, I did want to see that fight many years ago. I wanted to see that fight when Canelo was at 160 and Charlo was at 160. I thought it had a lot more intrigue then. I don't think Charlo's done anything that's made me overly excited about the course of his career. I do think he has skills, but I mean, who has he fought? But at the end of the day, the fight's being made. I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo makes Charlo come up to fight him. I've already said that, but who cares? As far as the money, though, that Canelo's being paid, reportedly, I mean, if he got paid for it, not reportedly, but I expect it to be above $40 million. And you could pay Bud Crawford and Errol Spence 2 times over from what they were reportedly asking for, which was $10 million. Now, the stupidity with that whole notion is that when it comes to Bud Crawford versus Errol Spence, a lot of the fans of Errol Spence and a lot of the people that don't like Errol Spence, who happen to be Bud Crawford fans, i.e. me, are riffing with each other, like both the fan bases, making it seem like these financial things between those two parties, Errol Spence and Bud Crawford, are like so far apart. But meanwhile, out of nowhere, what they're paying Charlo and what they're paying Dillian Whyte, 2 guys that I wouldn't pay to see fight anyway, what they're being paid could be paid to Bud Crawford and Errol Spence respectively, and we would have had this fight. But we're not having this fight. Pause for 1 second. I got to get my glass of water. And again, thank you guys for coming through. I wish you guys commented in the chat more. And I don't know what the fuck happened to my profile picture on YouTube. Like, why it's showing this blank one. But hold for 1 minute, please. But it does suck that we got a set trip over a boxer as so-called black minority fans when it comes to Terrence Bud Crawford and Errol Spence, whose fan bases are largely made up of black so-called minorities fan bases. While we got a set trip on each other and make it seem like the financials can't be had, but meanwhile, a fight that nobody cared about, asked for, I don't care if it was a mandatory. I never wanted to see Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury fight. Especially Dillian Whyte coming off several losses in his career. But that fight gets made seamlessly. But then, a fight with Errol Spence and Bud Crawford, it's so far apart. We don't know where we're going to get the money for this fight, says Tim Smith, spokesperson for PBC. It's the impossible dream that Errol Spence and Bud Crawford could possibly fight each other. That's so far from reality for you to expect for these two nobodies to fight. But Dillian Whyte, Tyson Fury, it gets made for big time money. I mean, 41 million for that fight. Give me a break. Let me asshole. The TS Boxy said, "Oh, if it isn't the number one Fury fan, yeah, right." I think you like Fury more than I do in a dark way, though. Like you just don't want to give him props outwardly because you don't want to disrespect the king. But I think you're more of a Fury fan, but you don't want to say. Yo, let me know if you want to come through too. Let me put the link up. Damn. Oh, here it is. But it stinks that this is the boxing paradigm that we're in right now. You know, I will go to that grave saying that he's not all that. Death before dishonor. Nah, my friend. I think before your time on this earth is over in 2090, you'll give him his props. Let me come through if you want though, Ty. But it sucks that, and there's a lot of fights that honestly, every Canelo fight, bro. Because honestly, why make such a big investment into a Canelo versus Charlo fight? I mean, I do think that there's a chance that Charlo somewhat could be Canelo. If Charlo goes up to fight Canelo at any weight besides 160, which I know he is, like, no, they're gonna make Canelo come down to 160. I mean, if it happens, it'll be a miracle. Canelo's not coming down to 160 though. But Charlo coming up in weight to fight Canelo, or likely coming up in weight to fight Canelo. You think he's gonna get a decision? Is he gonna put Canelo out of, or knock him out? Hells no, it's not gonna happen. I mean, and even if Charlo wins, like, then what? Like, I mean, Charlo collecting a Canelo scalp. I mean, it'll be a big deal. But the only big fight that's gonna come out of that is a rematch with Canelo, if that. But Charlo's not gonna win this fight. I mean, like, some people are saying, oh, well, technically Charlo's bigger than Canelo. Charlo's not gonna win this fight, and Canelo is walking around at a much bigger weight. Could get all the synthetics that he needs in between fights, and I'm not even relishing on that like that. But it is what it is. I mean, like, it seems like the boxing world lets Canelo do Canelo, and meanwhile, I mean, Canelo's getting paid a ton for, I mean, making fights that who cares? I mean, I don't care about him, and it's not because I'm not a big Canelo fan. I mean, but in me, you have a more of a casual fan nowadays. I mean, like, in most people's eyes, I'd probably be a hardcore. I mean, did I get warm because of the Canelo versus Charlo announcement? No. Is there intrigue to that fight for me? Somewhat. I mean, like, maybe Charlo is the best at moving that Canelo's fought besides Mayweather. Possibly, but still.
What?
Who moves better? Like, no, I mean, remember, my memory shot Tyrone.
Oh, I thought you said best mover. Oh, I thought you said I was about to say if you said best fighter. Oh, hell.
Besides, like, Lara and like, who's like moved the who you think has the best capability of moving around in the ring outside of, like, Charlo that Canelo's faced? And I'm not giving. It's not to say that I'm like overblowing like fucking Charlo's
Probably Billy Joe.
I'm sorry.
Billy Joe moves better than Charlo.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. Did he move? Was Billy moving? Was Billy Joe moving at the level in that fight against Canelo?
He was moving.
Yeah.
There's no point for
I
these
mean,
guys to keep moving. I just like they're just following the money. Like,
actually, hold on. Are you intrigued by that fight at all? Like Charlo Canelo?
no, don't care.
Yeah, I think, but you, there's no love lost between you and the Charlos. I know,
No,
but
I think Triple G beats Charlo today,
I
even if he
and
hasn't
I don't
fought in
know.
2 years. No, Triple G still beats him.
I don't know. I don't know what Triple G looks like now, but I think Triple G, besides when he fought the kid that trains from Brooklyn, Derevchenko, um, like I think that level Triple G would probably, I don't know. Yeah, actually,
Well, Triple G will probably Triple G will probably. I
I
don't
think so
know.
too.
But
I think so too.
Triple G before the Canelo fights will stomp out Jamal Charlo.
Hells yeah, bro. I was fronting on myself. Like I honestly, I may have gotten convinced by channels like otherwise.
I never thought
I
that
thought so.
Charlo
I
could
thought
beat.
so for a while.
I
So
never
I'm not gonna
did.
front one bit, bro. But that Triple G would beat the shit out of Charlo, bro. Like, I'm not even gonna front one iota. I don't see any shot that Charlo would throw his direction that Triple G hasn't taken. And like, come on, like, when has Triple G been hurt
I've
OD
only seen
like
Triple
that?
G hurt one time, and that was like a guy named a Muslim guy, Amari or something like that, and hurt him with like a left hook, and he wobbled, but that was it. I mean,
That was in the Germany era, like, or the Monaco era of Triple
this
G.
would no this he fought him in Germany. This was years ago. This must have been in oh my god, maybe 12 years ago, maybe more than that.
Probably more than that, yeah.
This was a long time ago. This was him coming up.
Yeah, honestly, yo, I used to think that because I remember Germany era Triple G, and he was good, but like when Triple G came
Yeah,
domestically, huh?
around that time, early though,
Yeah,
before he came over here.
but when he came here, like Triple G did put it on, bro. I'm not gonna front on him, bro. Like, I mean, he did fight back competition, but I give it up to Triple G now, bro.
I mean, they weren't all that. I mean, I thought Danny Jacobs at the time was a really good win towards the end, and then the Canelo fight. I thought he won the first fight.
I thought
Canelo, I thought beat him the second. I mean,
Canelo beat him the second fight, bro.
yeah,
But
it
I
was
think
like,
he did beat Canelo the first fight.
and then you saw him. He got one. I mean, he got the DAZN contract. But as far as notoriety and I mean, people for the most part have almost completely forgot about Triple G.
I mean, he's had a hand in that himself, but at the end of the day, he did make like tons of bread in the process of fighting dudes that weren't intriguing like
Yeah,
that.
I agree.
Yeah, but that's kind of, I mean, it's kind of like on boxing more than it is on him in a sense, like because everybody's fronting that same way now, anyways, bro. Like, so I don't even blame him, especially since he's on his way out the door anyway. But that, like, regardless though, I think that version of Triple G, the Derevchenko, which I thought was a Twilight Triple
I thought he
G.
lost that fight.
Yeah, I thought so too. But that's Twilight Triple G, and I think that version of Triple G would still beat the shit out of Charlo. Charlo was over. I was
Charlo, who
overrating
fought that bum last time out,
You know, at one
didn't
point
look
I
good
said
at
that
all.
Charlo had the potential. Actually, I'm sorry. At one point, I said that Jermell Charlo had the potential to be pound for pound.
Which one, Jamal or Jamel?
Jermell.
The 54 guy?
Yeah.
Well, they're already putting him on pound for pound list. I mean,
No, I thought he could be like a top, like the pound for pound guy at one point. I was bugging though. Like, I was
no
overrating him
chance.
too. And I think Jermell is
Because you
better
gotta
than
look at the opponents. You've got to look at the opponents.
he's better than Jamal in my eyes. Jermell. But
No. I
I
mean,
think
you
so.
mean resume,
We've
or
had
do you
this
mean
conversation
if
before
they were
too.
to fight?
Huh?
If they were to fight.
That's a little different though. Because I mean, like, honest, it doesn't look like, I mean, Jamel looks.
I mean, Jamal is just gonna do the big brother thing. The big brother almost always blows away the younger brother.
Yeah, but like, hear me out though. Like,
You're
Jamel
talking
looks.
about resume?
No, not resume. Like, Jamel looks more comfortable at 154 than Jamal looks at 160 in my eyes. So I think naturally there's a bigger, like, Jamal might be a little bit bigger than him, like, naturally.
Jamal is bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamal. I'll put it to you like this: when they did that doubleheader, Jamal would probably knock out Rosario in 2 rounds or something like that. The guy Jamel fought for the
Yeah,
main
yeah.
event. Jamel would definitely lose to Derevyanchenko if he were to fight him instead.
I don't know about that, bro. I don't think so. I think Jamel would beat Derevyanchenko.
Now maybe, yeah. Now yes, but could Jamal have handled all that pressure? Could Jamal have handled all that was coming to Jamal that night? I don't think so.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the skill. He's not. He was known as the person to have the skill at first, but then he got into it with Ronnie Shields, and now nobody knows if he's training with Derek James or not or whatever. I mean,
Nah, but but as far no, I was more mentioning the fact that I was overrating them in general, like Jamal and Jamel. Even though I thought Jamel was the better of the two, and
they're
and
08
more
guys.
capabilities on a pound for pound spectrum. You know what I'm saying? Like per se, like if Jamel capped out at 160, 168, like I think he would have a lot more success than Jamal at like 175. That's, you know what I'm saying? Like if he I don't know. I don't think that either one would go that high.
Let's see
Like
Jamel fight somebody who can take a shot, and then I'll
Jamel or
make
Jamal?
my decision. Jamel.
Yeah, that's true. Like
Let's see if he.
a lot of those dudes either A got like super faded, like after that, like nobody really cracked eggs like after they fought Jamel on his resume.
Not even like most of them had serious chin issues. Like J
Yeah, they
Rock
did.
has a, Rosario has a. We've seen it. I knew Rosario had a bad chin, and I said it was easy work. You can go to my what's it called? It's in the WhatsApp group, and Brooklyn said I was bugging and shit. I said Rosario is a bum.
I thought that he was good too, bro.
What,
But
Rosario? I knew Rosario was a bum. I knew Rosario was a bum for years. He was a PBC champ. Basically a guy who was on the Fox prelims or whatever, or he was on the Fox main events, on free TV, fighting, whoever they have on their roster who fought that time. So
yeah,
at the
I saw
time,
him fight before that fight. Like I remember him in the when
I
he was
remember when he got knocked out by Gallimore. Then I saw him come back against Deloach. So I saw him come versus that. Who's that guy that just got knocked out by Gachet? He fought that guy to a decision. He knocked him out of ring. Then he had a tough fight with he had a split decision versus, oh God, Jorge Cota, who was just awful. He is one of the worst fighters you'll see who's highly ranked. He is so bad. And he had a split decision with Jorge Cota. And then he got lucky against J Rock. Well, he didn't get lucky. J Rock just isn't. He can't take a punch. J Rock just lost again, by the way.
Yeah, I remember.
On the
Didn't you
Wilder
put
Fury
that in the group
undercard.
too?
Huh?
I thought you put that. Like I think you mentioned that too in the. It might have been in the WhatsApp or somewhere. I could have maybe we talked.
I don't know, but
Oh, I missed Watcher's comment too. Big hill for Whyte to climb. No, indeed, bro. Tell this man right here.
I pray that he beats him. I don't
Oh
think it's
my
gonna happen
Lord,
because he's too
Tyrone, bro.
small.
Christ, man.
Dude, he's the
The
biggest. He's one of the biggest frauds in the past 10 years. It's just hands down. I mean, he's an average fighter who can move, but he's been blown totally out of proportion. I mean, Wilder lost by his own demise.
Hey, the and because I actually mentioned the CJ Goodfella video earlier, but he said that the skill set that Wilder has is pretty much what Dillian Whyte has. Like that, there's not like
What?
that's what he said. Like
They fight totally different. What's he
no,
talking
but he's
about?
not the skill set, but he's saying that like Dillian Whyte's not more talented than what Wilder is.
Goodfellas
That's true,
tripping, dude. I mean,
huh?
what's?
Bro,
I'm
Dillian
not
Whyte
saying
is
he is or he
asking,
isn't, but
bro.
they're totally different fighters.
No, they are different fighters, but like he's saying that the skills wise, solely on skills, not counting power. I think he meant that power not withstanding that the skill set that Dillian Whyte possesses is not better than the skill set that Wilder possesses. And that's not him like trying to give credit to Wilder. I think he's more has a shitty assessment of Dillian Whyte. And it is true though, bro. Yo, Dillian Whyte is trash, bro. Like Dillian Whyte doesn't set up shots great. He loads up hard body. Like Dillian Whyte leaves himself mad open. It would take a good I'm not saying like Fury's that guy, but like
it doesn't take it won't take an amazing fighter to beat him. It doesn't take an amazing fighter to beat him.
I don't know.
There's so many other fighters, dude, who are real talents, who don't even get 10% of the shine or credit that people like Fury or Ryan Garcia get. For me, those guys are in the same boat.
Ryan Garcia,
vastly overrated.
Nah, but that's like pulling two names that shouldn't even be associated together.
They are. You got to think. If you think about it, they are.
In what sense, though? There's not like a rash of like Fury fanboys like
there
that.
is. You haven't seen it. There is, and you're part of it. You just don't know it.
No, not like that, bro. Not one iota. Like I mean, do you think
how many guys do we see who say he's the greatest of all time? He's the greatest heavyweight. All of this crap.
Let me ask you a question, bro. Between you, it's you and I speaking here. Do you think that my fervor for Tyson Fury goes anywhere near like some of these other cats go? Like for
no, but I do think you're a secret fan. I mean, No, it's nowhere near that, but I do think you're a secret fan of just like other guys that I've talked to who think he's better than he is. I mean, what are you guys on? I just don't see what you guys are saying. I've been saying for years, even before the first fight, that the guy was not that good. He had a great win against Klitschko. He doesn't even fight anywhere like that anymore.
All right, so
it's over.
You as a betting man, who are you gonna put?
And that was a close fight.
No,
him and Klitschko was a close fight.
You as a betting man, who are you gonna put your money on when Fury faces Dillian Whyte? And don't say, "Oh, it's because White's a bum." We know.
Well, I already said I wish that Whyte could do it, but it's too small.
Your money, where would your money go?
I said I wish Whyte could do it, but he's too small.
But I mean, I'm not here like to try to be a proponent of Fury. Like, you may have like your ill seed with him, but I'm definitely not one of those dudes that is trying
to ruined what I mean. American heavyweight boxing was bad enough. He basically just came. I mean, it was already cracked. It was a broken plate on the floor. He basically came in.
What's that got to do with him, though, bro?
No, it does have everything to do with him because he swept up the broken plate and put the rest of it in the trash. So now we have nothing.
Is there any American cat? I mean, you know more than I do as far as like these unheralded dudes that you think could beat Fury, even potentially. Absolutely not, bro. Like,
I mean, but that just is. I mean, that's not. I mean, the way you said it, you're like absolutely like that's not saying anything at all. I mean, we haven't had good heavyweights for years.
No, but what does that mean? The demise of American heavyweights is what I'm saying. Whether like potentially or like
he's not. He's not. No. Yeah, you're right. He's not the issue for it, but he put the final nail in the coffin. He just fucking swept up the pieces and threw the rest of it in the trash. It was already broken. He just cleaned the mess up, and it just left us with nothing.
I don't know. I think there's like a personal thing in my eyes. This is just an innocent observer.
It is personal.
I had with you on the phone and like these conversations that we have.
It is not. No, it is seemingly. It is personal.
This is from my perspective, though. Seemingly, from my perspective, there seems to be.
And I'm telling you, it is. You're right.
No, but it's not just with Fury though. It's also a real fervor when you discuss the Wilder topic too. Like there's something that that emanates from you that's different than when you discuss any other boxer. Like when it comes to these two characters, for some reason.
It's not so much Wilder because I'm nothing like Deontay at all, like whatsoever.
What do you mean?
No, I'm nothing like him at all. I'm not like we're not in common whatsoever.
Nobody said that.
Huh? No, I'm just no. I know you never said that, but I'm just saying. I'm just trying. I started to make my point. I'm like, for most people, it's that they resonate. They resonate. I said resonate. Oops, I'm sounding like some of our. I'm not.
If you go into some shit about expectations, as far as where you're
no. Wait. I said
you said this before though.
Well, I have said it before,
and you go off on a tangent.
No, I'm not going into that. I'm saying I don't resonate with him, and we're like complete opposites. The only thing the same is maybe our color, and I'm definitely a couple shades lighter than him. Like I said, it's the fact that there was so much responsibility to do well.
You know, that's the shit that I was talking about, bro. Like that you're gonna go in.
But as being the top American heavyweight, like, I mean, it's the last one standing, dude.
It doesn't matter though, bro.
No, it does matter. It does matter. You're saying it doesn't. You're looking at it as just as a boxing fan. I already told you I'm not a boxing fan. I just keep up with boxing.
I'm an American too, but I do root for my Americans though. Like if I had any stake in the matter.
Barely. I mean, I don't even like. We have a bad habit in this country of not rooting for our own. I don't even do it all the time. Like, I wasn't rooting for Brazil to beat AJ at all. I thought Brazil was a square.
Give me a second, Tyrone.
Where's Watcher?
No,
there's going to be a big size difference, dude. I don't think Whyte is taller than me, honestly.
No, but personally, I mean, or internally, or not really outwardly, like I always root, for the most part, like for the American cats, like and I have a patriotic bone about me too. But you know, if they lose, bro. I don't get behind it like that, and like I don't think that single-handedly, neither Wilder nor Fury are responsible for.
They are, dude. When you talk a lot, not to the demise. Not to the demise. The demise happened years ago. I mean, the demise happened even before he was playing ball at that JUCO. Before he was even thinking about boxing.
Wilder. I'm saying like the heavyweight landscape as far as Americans go, in general. That's the system.
It's been going on for the past 20 years.
Yeah, but it's because the system is rotted. Yo, like Tyrone, this is in Brooklyn too. Like there's all this like that corny ass gear that they sell when you watch like a PBC fight. You ever seen that?
Yeah, shit? Brooklyn boxing. Nobody buys it.
Corny. Yo, like in Brooklyn, deadass, there's probably left like 2 gyms, bro. Maybe.
I mean, it's gonna be why if I'm. I mean, and this is part of the illusion. Everybody sits here and says, "Oh man, 6'9" heavyweight who can move like that, blah blah blah. He can move." Did you see that? And all the casuals get mystified. I'm telling you, we'd have tons of those guys if they actually got into boxing. Why would I get into boxing if I'm 6'4", 6'5"? Why would I get into boxing when I can play football and basketball and make millions and not get hurt?
But look, like in Brooklyn, how many high school teams there are for football?
There are no high school teams across anywhere. There's no high school boxing team. I've never heard of a high school boxing.
No, but if they were gyms like
if it was in high school, it'd be like wrestling, like high school gyms, wrestling.
Like not even like, and you don't even need that though. I'm telling you, yo, like my little gym in was like one of the smaller ones, like the worst one, like because my gym would close down from late June till early September because it was a public space that was used for like the lockers of a public pool. So like where the lockers were, like that's where the gym was. So when pool season was in, you couldn't go to the gym, no training.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody who trained in that gym would run around like the whole summer and do stupid shit. But in spite of all that, that gym produced a champion. That gym fucking had like tons of dudes that won the
Who?
gold
Saddam
glove.
Ali.
Huh? Say again?
Who? Saddam Ali.
No,
Who
Saddam
who they
Ali actually
produce?
had his own gym. What, the champion?
Oh, yeah,
Hello?
Paulie.
I'm sorry.
You said that gym produced a champion. I was like, who's that champion?
Oh no, it was Gabriel Bracero.
I never heard of him.
Bracero. But there were dudes that were nastier than Gabriel Bracero in that gym. But out of nowhere, like there's no more gym. So that's a big part of Brooklyn that gym would like cover. Now there's like four
Right.
gyms tops in Brooklyn. Brooklyn's like the fifth or fourth biggest city if it were a city on its own, and you have four gyms, maybe, probably less than that. So I mean, like and that's like all over the country. There's no like spots where there's mad gyms. If you put gyms and there's like hood kids in and around the area, they're gonna produce champions. And that's why it takes people like you, bro. Like people that are passionate about boxing, who maybe
I'm
don't have
not
the need.
passionate about boxing.
Nah, you
I
are, bro.
actually am.
I
I'm
think,
passionate towards certain subjects
but
within
if you had
boxing,
like
but I wouldn't call
bread, like
myself a
real
fan.
bread, nah, if you had like real bread, like billionaire type bread, like you wouldn't throw up like fights, or you wouldn't like try to make a gym or all
For my own
encompassing training
amusement.
for your. That's what I'm saying. We need that though.
I mean,
But like
boxing is a mugs game. I mean,
huh?
look at the landscape. Like boxing in general is a mugs game. Like Chris Eubank said years ago, right? Like look at the landscape, look at the fan base. It's thankless. Like it's. I mean, the kids my age, dude, are playing basketball. They're playing football. Nobody when I was in high school, which was only 5 years ago, right? Really played. I mean, not sorry, it's a playback. Box or even I think I knew one guy who did martial arts, but nobody really was into that stuff. Like we had a wrestling team, basketball, football, volleyball, shit like that, track and field. I mean, there's no almost no room for boxing. Nobody's even checking for boxing. So I just goes back to my point, and that's why I've never been impressed by big guys who can move. Never, because I don't think much of big guys anyway. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm just being totally honest. I said this to I don't know if Watcher heard this, but I was like, if you're fighting over 200 pounds, 95% of the time you probably can't fight. In this day and age, I'm just point blank period. From what I've seen, I'm not impressed by heavyweights whatsoever across the board. Like big guys who can move, I see all the time. I mean, I played basketball with them. You see them in football. I mean, imagine those guys were boxing instead of playing football. I mean, you'd have a fury a dime a dozen, probably a better ones.
Absolutely. But the thing is that domestically here in America, they've like we sort of like sat back in a large degree and like settled for seconds. I don't know. Like I think that
Yeah, that's yeah. I agree with you. I mean, the guys over there, and I mean, from what I see, everybody in England almost like not everybody, but like that whole UK, especially like Ireland, they go hard and
yeah,
they're
and look
still trying
and
to
and yo
compete.
and peep game Tyrone too. In this big country, like signature gyms, um, we have like two or three, which is Gleason's, which doesn't produce anybody now. Kronk,
Freddie Roach.
Yeah,
Kronk doesn't
Wild
exist
Card,
anymore.
huh?
Yeah, Kronk doesn't really exist anymore.
Wild Card doesn't exist.
No, Kronk.
Oh, okay. Like, but for instance, like,
But no, yeah, I get you. Gleason's, Kronk, Wild Card, and that Fifth Street gym in Miami.
Yeah, Gleason's doesn't produce anybody, so you could actually take them out of there. But like, as far as signature gyms, maybe 4, 5 in the whole country. You know, England has at least 2 or 3 signature gyms, and Kronk is really bad. Watcher said, "Yo, watch if you want to come through, man. The link is there." But it shouldn't be
Kronk
that way.
like...
I mean, like, but honestly, like they're I mean, looking back at it now, I mean, and I'm a lot older than you. I think a lot of that downturn started happening right at post Mayweather, and I think right before the Mayweather era. Even then,
that's what I'm
it was
saying.
still a downturn.
That's why I said the last 20 years. That's what I was thinking too, because like I'm living through this. You know, I'm around this age. These guys, my friends, they're not checking for boxing like that. They might see it now because of Jake Paul and social media and everything else like that, but they just see a big knockout. They do their decaf. Wow. And then, you know, they get on with their day, you know, whatever, you know, they might scroll through Instagram. Maybe a nurse is throwing it back on Instagram or something. She's shaking that, you know, that's in their feed.
Or MILF.
And then they might see a knockout, go, and then move on. I mean, that's just how things work.
Yeah. Now, but I think that to cultivate a real reemergence of American boxing wouldn't take much. I'm
Yeah, I
telling
have
you.
no idea, dude. It would take guys like Deontay winning, guys like Spence winning, Americans dominating more. They are dominating in a lot of the lower classes, but what brought boxing on to the decafs is the heavyweight division.
That's true. But welterweight went into like a dormant Mayweather pattern as far as fighting twice a year early on. Every one of these cats, and like, I mean, if you wanted to rivet up your name, like, you should be going after other motherfuckers like in and around you, and they just didn't. And I think that the welterweight division, which kind of like held down the '80s, was a real presence in the
Yes.
'90s, was a major
Mm-hmm.
presence, was the presence during the Mayweather era, but that wasn't a big era of boxing. That was actually a whack era of boxing. But the fact that it's kind of like lost its luster, and like right now there's like zero happening in welterweight, and it's been that way for a while. It's kind of like not a help. And honestly, like, think about it, Tyrone. If you had the bread and it's something that you just wanted to fuck around with, like as a hobby, you wouldn't throw 20 million to try to make Bud versus Errol, you know. But
No.
meanwhile, you find fucking mad bread for Dillian Whyte, or you might find bread for Tyson Fury and Canelo. Like, that's what's fucking up the game, bro. To me,
well, Canelo is basically gonna do what he wants at this point. I mean,
but they allowed that. They that's what they cultivated, though. They cultivated Canelo to be that guy. And like a peep game, Tyrone. Remember when it was like Hurd versus Charlo? That was the big fight to make a couple years ago.
At the time, yeah.
All right, how much you think back then? Most that it would have cost to make that fight happen back then? $3 million a piece.
No,
if that.
5 million total. 5 million shared between the two. Yeah,
that's
so
what I'm
3
saying,
million
bro.
piece. Yeah, I mean something like that.
Okay,
At
but like
most,
if that would have popped off back then, I mean, you got a guy. Even though you make like, I think Hurd is kind of ass, and like Charlo's only a little better. But I mean, you start making that conversation forcefully like that. Yo, this guy's nothing to mess with. This American cat, beat the other American cat, and like, now they're that dude. Like, now you could have the conversation.
You've got to keep winning, dude.
You do, but like, I mean, like, it's that these fights don't even happen. It's that these fights don't even happen, and it's honestly, it's a lot of times when it's a black dude against another black dude where it's always like these other stipulations that come into it, like with money and all this shit, and it's not even large amounts of money. Because if you had that $5 million sitting around, I mean, like, you would throw that, and you would probably make bread off it. I'm not saying that you could make, that you would, it would be the best investment.
Probably be at a loss.
You wouldn't lose money for that $5 million making Herb Charlo back then, and you wouldn't lose from your $20 million investment of making Errol versus Bud now. But it's just a bunch of excuses as to why these dudes don't fight, and motherfuckers trying to kill each other online, being homoerotic, like, over these dudes. And it's not even like that. I think that the Errol Spence faction of like or the Errol-sexuals are like the worst people in the world, or
you've got to. Me and Mike been trying to get this to you, but you've got to think just in general, like what I said the last time I was on here. Like, in this day and age, it is so important not to lose, dude.
No,
like
I understand that.
Else is it's so important because let's be honest, people like me or you, we're not going to support those guys if they lose. You know, what money are we giving them? Are we helping them with training? Are we getting their name out on social media? Are we doing flyers? Are we helping them promote? What are we doing for their livelihood?
But we're living within a whack current landscape. So, I mean, like, we look like herbs trying to promote, like, you know, whoever, like, when nobody knows who these guys are.
No. But I'm saying, how do we get if a guy takes a loss, you know, in their way, people are just trying to follow the Mayweather blueprint and trying to get the money. That's just all this is, dude. That's why guys won't fight each other, because a loss, I mean, basically zaps you, you know, from anything to get from the casuals. The hardcores might remember you, but then you'll start to fade. I mean, it's just a bad deal all the way around.
Well, honestly, Tyrone, not to cut you off, but again, that's kind of like more, if you think about it, of a black predicament where, like, a fighter gets thrown into the gutter. Like, it's a lot of brothers a lot of times that are going through that, because Triple G lost and he still got the zone deal big time, and he fought ass cheeks dudes since he's been on the zone. Nobody who I wanted him to see him fight.
Derevchenko was
but I mean,
that was it.
It was good, but I mean, like, nobody was asking for that fight. Like,
it was a good fight to me.
Or it doesn't merit that kind of bread. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything that Canelo's done on the zone, anything that Triple G's done on the zone hasn't merited like the amount of money that they've been paid to do that stuff. But you could have made 1,000 fights with that money. You could have had Gary Russell fight whoever the fuck, like, several times over, like, or Rigondeaux versus whoever, like, fucking several times over, Donaire against whoever, or, you know, Bud Errol, like, you know, heard Charlo back then, like, but it's just and honestly, where, like, the money gets in the way of fights not happening, which is kind of like a newer thing, it's PBC, bro. Like, that's doing it most now, like, in its current. And honestly, like, if you think about, like, how that's kind of like a common thing, like, nowadays, like, looking back on it, like, a lot of it started peaking with the arrival of PBC onto the game. 1 year after PBC arrived into the game, shit started going downhill, like, in that fashion, as far as, like, you know, we can't make this fight because of this guy wants too much, or this guy wants too little, and it's like, you know, a couple $1,000,000. Oh, we're trying to marinate a fight, like Hurd and Charlo, like, but my man, like, that fight doesn't matter even at its peak, bro. Like, you're not gonna make pay-per-view money off that shit. Why marinate this, like, fucking up? But we got into this with the arrival of, like, PBC, like, post 1 year after they got into the game. 2 years, probably.
Well, PBC was trying to basketball it. PBC was trying to basketball this stuff, right? They signed a ton of fighters, and at first they were having a lot of fights on different networks. I mean, PBC used to be on Spike, it used to be on NBC, it used to be on CBS, it used to be. I mean, it's still on Fox, but
Yeah, I
it
remember
used to
that.
be on a whole bunch of networks. It used to be on MSNBC as well, CBS. I mean, tons of networks just trying to get exposure. But even with all that, it just didn't stick. But you still had a obligation to the fighters, and it's just sort of turned into what it is now.
But it was a whack format. The way they went about it and the way they're going about it now, too. It's just,
well, they were hoping that the money that they threw early would pay dividends, and it backfired because it didn't stick. They were literally throwing shit at the fan and hoping it stuck, hoping that guys would get involved, that the casuals would watch it, and it'd be a big sport. Not as big as basketball, of course, not that fast, but it would be very prevalent in just the common discourse, and it didn't work out. It's
I think
still in the dark.
It definitely didn't work out. But I think along the way,
hinged on those early days.
No, like I mean, we can't argue that it worked, like, rather than didn't work out, because it didn't work out. But along the way, like, how many dope fights they could have made, and I mean, maybe it would have worked out then, maybe it wouldn't. But like, there was no reason not to make a lot of these fights that they didn't make along the way. Period. I mean, like, the whole 154 that they
I don't
had.
think it will work out either way.
Pardon me? It probably didn't. No, you're right. It probably wouldn't work out. But every fight,
because you gotta think about it like this: we know the names, the big names. Like, you're saying that they should have made bigger fights early. Well, that works on people like us because we know the names. But for this plan, their plan to succeed, the casuals need to get involved. The general audience, general public needs to watch this like it's a Lakers, Celtics game or something like that. Like that. And the way to do that, they thought, was just to throw any old fight. And I think, I mean, I just honestly, I don't know what else to do, because if any old fight wouldn't work, I mean, the casuals don't know the difference between the names anyway. It was just to get boxing in front of their eyes. And if that didn't work, shit, what will? I mean, it's just like,
no, but they went up.
What do we do here?
But like, in hindsight, especially, like, since I've been following it along the whole way, like, they didn't do it right business wise. I mean, like, every fight that they didn't make could have been made with the money that they're gonna give Canelo to fight Charlo, or with the money that they gave Canelo to fight Caleb Plant. Even
you're talking about now.
Even now, though, I mean, like, now they're grasping at straws, though, with this Canelo thing, like with the Caleb Plant and with Charlo. Now that it's just like a last ditch effort, when they could have, like, probably thrown that money in the direction of making all these other fights happen. And who knows? Like, I mean, like, what they did.
I think.
No, I was gonna say what they did.
Trying to do now. Go ahead.
No, what they did definitely didn't work, and what they're doing now is even worse than anything they've tried. Like, because I don't care what happens, bro. Like, Charlo could literally, like, detach Canelo's head off, and it's what do they have, like, as far as a product?
No, wouldn't do anything.
Pardon me?
Like, you're right. There's no way forward, and my explanation to this is, I mean, the same, like I say it all the time. Sometimes in this life, you only get one chance. They had that 500 million war chest, and they literally, I'm trying to think of other ways they could. Their problem was so deep seated in the fact that these casuals and the general audience. I mean, how do you get the general audience?
All right,
involved?
but look, But
What
peep
do you
game,
do?
Tyrone. Along the way, like not just counting like PBC. Um, there's been boxing stars that sort of have a little bit of a public persona. Even Berlanga, like Berlanga has a little bit of a public, like people know that he is like outside of like or casuals know of his existence, if you will. If you would have had that
In your
5
area, in your area, if I had that 500 million,
yes. I'm not saying that you would have
honestly,
brought boxing back to its prominence, but you would have done
I wouldn't have.
possibly though. You have a shot in the dark. What PBC didn't even have a shot in the dark. That was a dumbass plan. Like because it went from like
No,
giving
I'm
you
saying me like I said, if you gave me that 500 million, I wouldn't have been able to. I'm just be honest with you. I don't think I would have been able to come up. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, what do? You literally throw boxing. I mean, it was sort of like putting a flyer for Burger King on every single billboard,
nah,
every
bro.
single
I
window,
could,
every single,
yo,
and it
you're
just didn't
talking
stick.
about
Nobody came to Burger King.
no, but you're talking about part of your budget making fantastic fights for like probably less than $1 million. I mean, they probably could have done this hundreds of times over and had a way better
Okay,
shot at cultivating a star and like maybe like bringing boxing back to a little bit of prominence.
so this is probably where we disagree. I think this is where we disagree. I think.
In what regard?
So you're saying that if
Actually,
they were to make
take it over,
big
bro. I'm
fights
listening to you,
with
but I gotta use the bathroom.
okay, so you're saying that if they made big fights with big big names, good fighters that the hardcores know, that would work. But what I'm saying is that the casual, the pivotal part of this entire equation is not the hardcore fan. I mean, we are a sliver of the money in boxing. We don't move the needle. I mean, that's just the sad part of it. The pivotal part is the casuals, is the hardcore, is the casuals, is the decafs, the general audience. John Q. Public. These guys, your Dallas Knicks, the average guys who walk around every day, they have some menial job, who know sports. We need to get boxing in their discussions. Did you see the Lakers game? Did you see the fight last night? That's what the goal was, and I think it was they bombarded with random fights because when they first started, dude, they had a ton of fights. Now, granted, not all of them were big names, but I mean, let's look at this. Sean Porter, Keith Thurman was on what was it? No, Sean Porter, Keith Thurman was on CBS or NBC. For sure. I remember it. Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman was on CBS. Yes, they were. They weren't on Fox. Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, I think, was on NBC or CBS. And Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, for sure, I know was on CBS because I watched it on CBS on free TV. That would be pay-per-view right now, hands down.
Not pay-per-view worthy, but it would be pay-per-view.
No, not right now because they both lost. But if you were to bring them, if you would fast forward 5 years, and Keith Thurman 28-0 versus Danny Garcia 29-0, Danny Garcia WBC, Keith Thurman WBA, Fox would made that a pay-per-view, and people would be okay with that right now.
Yeah, I think so.
Am I right?
Probably, yeah.
Right. 5 years ago, that was on free TV.
Mm-hmm.
So I do agree with you that that's one of the big fights you're talking about. I do agree that they didn't make as much as they could have, but I think their goal was quantity over quality. You're talking about the quality, making a lot more quality fights. They were just trying to get boxing to stick and then make the quality fights after because they would have had the money, right? The money would have came back. It would have paid dividends, and they could move forward. But it hasn't worked out. Each year, less and less money, and now things are on pay-per-view that shouldn't be.
Yeah, and honestly, if this plan doesn't work out, and God forbid, the PBC falls,
It's
you're
done,
gonna have
dude. I think it's done within a
It's
couple of
definitely
years.
coming, bro. I know it's coming, but you're gonna have perhaps a small period of time, maybe a year or two, where things like unfuck themselves, or like boxers are saying like, I'm not gonna fight for that. Like, I'd rather just retire, or not fight at all, or wait it out. That's gonna go into a whack period, especially considering that the fact that all those dudes are on PBC. You're gonna have hundreds of boxers sitting on the sidelines.
I do. PBC at least tried to get boxing in the general audience's tried in this day and age, in this dark period. PBC did try to use that $500 million to get boxing out there, get it in the vernacular, bring it back in a way. Top Rank never tried. Top Rank is about their business. I mean, they're all businesses at the end of the day, but Top Rank never had any sort of mission or dream to bring boxing back to the general public. I mean, they signed with ESPN because,
but that wasn't their marching orders either.
No, it was never their marching orders. No, they never had a plan to.
They've been pretty much the same company since Aaron's been there. Like, a lot from what I know of it. It's a grimy ass boxing company.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's just what it is. It's no different if Duva, Kathy Duva, what's her promotional company again? Is it Duva Promotions or something?
I forgot.
Duva or Golden Boy got an ESPN deal. They would have done the same thing that Top Rank did.
Yeah, bro. Yo, I gotta break out. But let me ask you something. If Kathy Duva told you to get in them cheeks and she'll give you possession of her company, one-time deal, would you do it?
No, man. I mean, what do I get? I mean, Kovalev is washed. I don't even know who else.
You got a boxing pro. You'd be at the helm of a boxing company. And there's more of a Kathy Duva question rather than
probably not.
I commend
probably
you, friend.
Not. I'd have to be paid certain money to do that.
If off the rip you have a $3 million war chest and the company.
I mean, fucking that 3 million war chest. I mean, I'd basically do it like a promoter does. I would like that war chest would mysteriously become a 250K war chest. Mysteriously.
Yeah, off the rip, expenses. Fucking
Yeah.
Yo, let me take off though, man. Yo, let me take off, bro.
Right.
Fucking thanks for coming through, Tyrone. I probably would have been lost, man.
No problem.
I was already feeling shitty. Nah, but Watcher, thanks for coming through too, man. Watcher got to come on here, bro. But I commend everybody who watches this after the fact too. And with that, I'm out. Peace.